The bells of San Eustacio tolled midnight, their iron voices echoing over the stone courtyards of Castile. My father's hand pressed heavy on my shoulder as he delivered me into the Duke's castle, not as a guest, not as a daughter to be honored, but as a bride bartered in silence. My veil was thin, my lips trembling, my fate sealed in whispers that left no room for refusal. The torches burned high upon the walls, casting long shadows on the men who watched me enter. Their eyes told me everything my father's lips would not. I was no longer his child, but his bargain. In those moments, the air smelled of iron and roses, like beauty married to cruelty. When the Duke of Altamira appeared at the top of the stairs, the crowd drew silent. He was taller than I imagined, his figure wrapped in dark velvet, his hair streaked with silver, though his face still bore the strength of a man in his prime. His reputation had traveled farther than his lands, ruthless in war, merciless in justice, unyielding in power. And now mine. Our eyes met only once that night. He extended his hand, steady, commanding. I placed mine upon it because I had no choice. But when his palm closed around my trembling fingers, I felt something unexpected. A warmth, a steadiness, as if he noticed every quake inside me and chose to anchor it. The vows were spoken in a cold chapel. No candlelight softened the shadows, no music softened the silence. My father stood stone-faced. The Duke's voice was calm, steady, grave. When he promised before God to protect, I felt the word pierce me. Was it protection, or possession? That night, in chambers carved from old stone, I prepared to meet the cruelty I had been warned of. Yet the Duke did not approach me as men often do brides on such nights. Instead, he sat in silence by the fire, his hands clasped, his gaze distant. When he finally spoke, it was not with hunger but with honesty. "You were given to me," he said quietly, "and I despise the manner of it. But know this, I will never take what is not freely offered." I stared at him, stunned. For the first time since my father's hand forced mine away, I drew breath without fear. He rose, bowed his head, and left me alone in the vast bedchamber. And though I lay sleepless beneath embroidered sheets, my heart carried a question heavier than chains. Who was this man the world had painted as a monster, yet who left me untouched on the night I was his? The days that followed were filled with duty. I walked the gardens of Altamira Castle, every path hemmed in by roses whose thorns reached like claws. The servants bowed, but their eyes lingered too long, some with pity, others with envy. I was the girl who had been traded for debt, now the duchess bound by gold chains. The Duke remained a mystery. He dined in silence, spoke only when necessity demanded, and yet I caught him watching me, not with hunger, but with questions. He rode out at dawn, returning with dust on his boots and weariness in his eyes, a man burdened by lands, soldiers, and shadows of war. One afternoon, as I wandered near the orchard, I heard voices carried on the wind. A pair of servants whispered cruelly of me, that I was no noble's daughter, only the fruit of my father's desperation. That the Duke had taken me as one takes a pawn in a game already won. Their laughter cut sharper than any blade. I fled deeper into the orchard, where I found the Duke himself, kneeling to tie the saddle of his horse. He looked up, reading the storm in my eyes. "What have they said?" he asked. I shook my head, swallowing tears. "Nothing that is not true." He stood slowly, his figure towering yet calm. "Your father may have given you to me as one gives coin to a creditor. But do not think you are coin to me." His words stunned me. No one in my life had ever cared to draw the line between my worth and my father's bargains. Later, at supper, his voice carried across the long hall. "No servant under my roof shall dishonor the Duchess. Should such words reach me again, their tongue will pay the price." The hall fell silent, eyes flickering from me to him. For the first time, I felt the room bend around his will, and protect me within it. My heart whispered a truth I dared not name. I was beginning to trust him. It was on the eve of the harvest festival that the mask slipped. The Duke returned from council with lords, his jaw set, his hands restless. When he found me in the gallery, I asked the question that had lingered in my chest since our vows. "Why did you not touch me that night?" His gaze fixed on me, dark and searching. "Because I have known what it is to be taken without choice." The silence cracked like thunder. My breath caught. He turned away, walking the length of the gallery as if distance could shield confession. "My first marriage was arranged by my father. She did not want me. And when I tried to claim her as custom demanded, I saw only fear. It was the last time I ever wished to see such fear in a woman's eyes." His voice broke, raw, a man remembering not triumphs but wounds. Something inside me shifted then, more than pity, deeper than gratitude. For the first time I saw not the Duke but the man, scarred by power, chained by duty, yet refusing to become the monster he had once been made. That night, As lanterns lit the courtyard, he asked me to walk with him. We passed the soldiers, the stone arches, the whispering halls, until we reached a secluded terrace where the stars hung low. There are those who say a duke feels nothing, he said, his voice softer than the night. But you have unsettled me.
My heart pounded. Unsettled.
Every look from you reminds me I am not beyond redemption. The forbidden truth hung between us. I was his by law, but my heart was still free. And it beat faster each time he neared. When his hand brushed mine, it was not command but request. I let my fingers rest in his. And though no kiss passed between us, the night ended with a vow unspoken, that love might grow where chains once bound. Love declared itself not in words, but in fire. It was autumn when the castle was attacked by those who envied the duke's lands. Flames rose against the night, smoke swallowing the stars. I was seized in the chaos, dragged toward the stables by a masked raider. His blade pressed cold against my throat.
And then he came, my duke.
His sword flashed, his roar shook the air. He fought like a man possessed not by duty, but by love. When he tore me from their grasp, his hands trembled as they closed around me.
Are you hurt? He demanded.
No, I whispered, though my body shook. But you. Blood streaked his shoulder where steel had found flesh. Yet he looked only at me. When the fires were doused and the raiders fled, he carried me into the chapel, the very place where vows were first spoken. But now there was no priest, no father, no audience.
Only us.
He sank to one knee before me, his voice breaking. On the night you were given to me, I swore I would not take what was not freely offered. Tonight I ask not as your duke, but as your man, may I have your love. Tears blurred my vision. My heart, once caged, spoke without fear. It has been yours from the moment you refused to claim me by force. Yes, yes, you have it. His lips found mine then, not in hunger but in reverence, sealing a vow the world would never understand. For though I was his duchess by law, by blood, by bargain, now at last, I was his by love. And the love I never expected had become the only truth I could not deny.